All right, all right. Good. How's it going?
Great, man. How are you?
Good. It's a rare Monday. I don't know why I agreed because I'm kind of half watching the football game here on the side, tracking my bets. But
I was a little curious that you agreed to do this during Monday Night Football, but I think timing tonight just worked better. Tomorrow would have been a little.
it's good. It'll be halftime soon. We can wrap up and then I can just catch the second half. But these guys aren't playing, so it's a little bit easier.
Boys been playing all right too.
Yeah. We just went into the bye week and came out of the bye week winners with your team and the Dolphins both failing.
Yeah.
I feel like picking up a game when you don't even have to play.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins game was a good game. To Buffalo is, I think that's just, I hate to say it, but I think that's going to be indicative of what you see from them this year. They're just not there.
They're so inconsistent.
They're just not. They're like me messing with my camera in the middle of this. They're just not there. If Josh Allen is not having a day, they are a 6 out of 10 football team, and that is painful.
Yeah, and the defense is a little bit of a letdown right now too. But the real reason why we're here is
not to discuss football.
No, I could talk football for hours. Last time we talked, we thought maybe we'd do like a little bit of a Ahsoka season review, kind of, what went on. And then Andor started popping up in the news, and, I love Andor. So I thought we'd do a little, compare contrast Andor versus Ahsoka, because they really couldn't be more different of a show.
Oh God. Yeah.
So off the top of your head, what do you think the viewership numbers were between them? Who do you think did better? And I'll show you the answer.
I mean, I'm going to say Ahsoka, but I feel like you're going to tell me I'm wrong, which, as odd as it sounds, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to say Ahsoka.
No, you're right.
I'm
not
surprised.
Yeah, so Ahsoka, again, I don't know, like, these aren't Nielsen, these are Samba. How reliable these are, I don't know. But for Ahsoka, they said 863,000 U.S. households watched the finale versus 591 for Andor.
Yeah.
Which I'm not surprised at all. But what I am surprised at 1.5 million for Mando season 3.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
Season 3, like it's had 2 seasons of momentum to build.
Yeah, to build up a fan base, I guess.
Of course. Like the world fell in love with Baby Yoda. No offense. I mean, Hui Yang's cool. And whatever. I totally forget the emotional robot in Andor already. But I mean, how do you compete with Grogu? You just can't.
Yeah. You also brought it up too when we were reviewing one of the episodes that I think you thought people would recognize Andor more, which I challenged you on, because there were some rumors that the Ahsoka numbers weren't doing so good at the beginning. Whereas you said, well, Ahsoka's only known to people who watched animation, and that's like leaving out quite a huge circle of people.
And I thought Rogue One would have catapulted Andor because it was such an incredible Star Wars property, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't think you're necessarily wrong. I think Andor is just so niche that's why it's, a little bit smaller.
And Ahsoka pulled the greatest rabbit out of its hat it possibly could. Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker. I would love to see the chart just doing this.
Yeah.
As soon as he made that return, it brings all of your main canon 9 movie watching Star Wars people come right back to it.
Yeah, because they had that nostalgia factor, right? It's like, Anakin's coming. They can market that. Obviously the diehards are in there because if it's a Rebels sequel or not. The one thing I found interesting with the Andor numbers, though, was Andor started out not good and actually ramped up to the finale.
Yeah. I think
Whereas almost every other show kind of has a drop off, Andor actually accelerated towards the finale, which I also get that too, because once you gave it a chance, I felt like Andor really hooked you in.
Mm-hmm.
Really hooked you in. So I find the people who watched it, they were there for and Andor was 12 episodes long, right? Whereas Ahsoka was only 8.
And I'm going to go out on a limb, and we'll never know this data, saying that more new people to Star Wars watched Andor than they did Ahsoka, because it was created by the person who did the Bourne movies, because it had that spy feel, because it wasn't, and I know we're going to talk about this, because it wasn't Star Warsy. Like, it started in a brothel and they were swearing. I mean, yeah. So that doesn't surprise me at all that it gained viewership.
Yeah. So tomato reading. Let's pull up Rotten Tomatoes here real quick. I want to see what the actual impression of what Ahsoka actually did. There we go. Tomato meter for Ahsoka, 86.
Yep.
Surprising. You think that's on par?
Not surprising.
And then Andor, 96.
Yeah. I'm going to make a probably a super unpopular statement here. Yeah. Andor was a better show. It wasn't a better Star Wars show, but Andor was a much better television program.
Absolutely. I think if you didn't know the shows, we're going to talk about the Star Wars factor, but if you didn't know the shows were Star Wars and you sat down to watch them, I would say the general, like, random audience person would be more captivated by Andor.
100%.
As far as storytelling, acting, production, like literally everything from top to bottom.
Yep. Could not agree more.
So
is the first, because your first question is we're going to do a comparison, right? So how do you compare? So I'll turn around and ask you, because this obviously was a big general question. How do you compare Ahsoka to Andor? Give me your 25, 30 seconds on how you felt they compared as a show and as a Star Wars show. Like, what jumped out at you?
Well, for me, I think both like ooze Star Wars, and we'll get into why some people don't think that, but I think these are both Star Wars tales, like start to finish. Ahsoka is the mysticism. Is that the right word? Mysticism?
Yeah.
You know what I'm getting at? Ahsoka is like, the unknown, that fun adventure. It very much harkens to kind of like the original trilogy style. It's very easy to pick up, I find. Like, even if you didn't watch Rebels and stuff like that, I feel like it's good versus evil. You're following a Jedi, like everyone knows what the deal is. Whereas Andor is such a niche, small contained, like small potatoes, really story about a bunch of characters you don't know. You have no there's barely, like, you see some of these people make it to Rogue One. But that's, outside like Mon Mothma, like everything is brand new. But it tells the story of the real life oppression of the Empire on people, living on like their day-to-day lives, and how that government change flip right from the Republic to the Empire, and how that's kind of changed everything. And you're seeing these oppressed people start to fight back in the formation of rebel cells. And that in itself is a very Star Wars take.
For sure. Right? Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. So that'd be my pitch for the two shows.
Yeah. And it's, and you are going to be a percentage of people that can draw that comparison.
Yeah.
But the percentage of you is not high, if we're being honest. I mean, you know enough about the Star Wars universe to be able to see Andor as an incredible Star Wars property. And I think we're going to get into the fact that chunk of people did not see that, right?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by your second question. I'm excited about this one.
Let's just get into the one thing first. So,
all
right. Obviously, so Andor was making its rounds. Obviously, Star Wars Theory is the largest Star Wars content creator. And he on Twitter said, I won't pull it up, I'll just read it. Andor is not Star Wars. It is a world building show. It doesn't compete with actual Star Wars, Jedi, Sith, the Force, etc. It's just good sci-fi, nothing more.
Hold on, read that again.
Andor is not Star Wars. It's a world building show. It doesn't compete with actual Star Wars, Jedi, Sith, the Force, etc. It's just a good sci-fi show, nothing more.
I mean, I agree with part of it.
Do you agree with that?
I agree that it is not a Sith Jedi lightsaber. I agree. It is not. But that doesn't mean it's not Star Wars. What it means is that it's not traditional Star Wars. It's not stuck in the universe where every third show we're back on Tatooine trying to build lightsabers and grab a droid. I agree. It doesn't compete with the Sith, Jedi, but it was never supposed to.
Yeah.
The idea was to see, I think anyway, was to see where Star Wars could evolve to, and I think what they did was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, Star Wars is just a futuristic tale of good versus evil, right? If you looked at just A New Hope in a nutshell, like say A New Hope bombs, George Lucas doesn't get the green light to write the rest of it.
Yep.
Are you really telling me that movie's about the Jedi versus the Sith? That original Star Wars movie is the Rebels versus the Empire.
Right. Yep.
Right?
But Star Wars has become Sith, Jedi, and lightsabers, laser swords.
Yeah.
Right?
Begrudgingly. The laser sword piece.
Sword.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, you could go back to like lots of things, right? Like George Lucas is famously, into hot rods, fast cars. Why did he make X-Wings look the way they look like and fast? Because he's obsessed with all that stuff. So like, I know you're not Star Wars Theory, but I'll flip it around. Do you think people would have an issue of the Rogue Squadron movie getting made if there was no Jedi or Sith? It was just a bunch of rebel pilots versus the Empire. Is that not Star Wars, or is that just a Top Gun knockoff?
I think that you will get that. I think that the Squadron movie will do better because for 9 movies, X-Wings were staples. The cast of Andor was a standalone movie. Now, we know how incredible that movie is. We don't have to go on about it.
Yeah.
But the premise of it was really never in its detail the 9. I mean, of course, we know it had its part in that story and we understand the background of it. But if you're the average onlooker looking in, no idea. They don't understand the significance of it.
But you could sum up the 9 though as the Skywalker family soap opera. I think George has even called it that. Like it's a family story
with laser swords.
Yeah.
And the Force and people moving things with their mind and throwing them around with motions of their hands. And because there was no laser swords or throwing people around with their hands or electrocuting them or force choking them, there's going to be a percentage of people that says that is not Star Wars. I don't agree with them, but I do see their viewpoint. I think that I hope, and I know this is obviously a question that we're going to come up with later, but I hope this is a world they go down. I hope this is a universe they explore. Like, this to me could be the potential of that next couple generation of Star Wars fans. Like, they can branch away from that traditional model. Everyone chirped The Force Awakens because it was too much like A New Hope. But then you build something different like Andor, then everyone gets mad because there's nothing like Star Wars. Like, there's literally no pleasing you, Mr. Powers. It is physically impossible.
The second that TIE fighter in Andor goes humming across that valley, Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I heard it and I saw it. I saw the thing that makes it tells
That's
me
it.
we are now in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe I'm just simple. Hey, you dress it up aesthetically like Star Wars. To me, you can tell any story you want in the Star Wars universe, and to me, it'll feel like Star Wars.
100%.
Yeah. Yep. So I have two important questions for you, guys.
Okay, number one.
Number one is going to be, which season did you like better of Andor versus Ahsoka? And the follow-up question is going to be, if Disney can only greenlight 1 second season, which one are you going to choose? And before we discuss that, just to, we just finished watching Ahsoka, so I think it's only fair we, fire up the old Andor engine here for a second, and I got a quick little 3-minute video.
All right.
To get you back in the right space here.
Now, hold on. Did you make this video? Is this like a plug for your own channel?
No, I did not make this. This is a masterpiece.
My name is Kino Loy. I'm the day shift manager on level 5. I'm speaking to you from the command center on level 8. We are at this moment in control of the facility.
Is that the best you got?
Yeah. You tell him, Cassian.
How long we hang on, how far we get, how many of us make it out, all of that is now up to us. We have deactivated every floor in the facility. All the floors are cold. Wherever you are, right now, get up. Stop the work. Get out of your cells. Take charge and start climbing. They don't have enough guards, and they know it. If we wait until they figure that out, it'll be too late. We will never have a better chance than this. And I would rather die trying to take them down than giving them what they want. We know they fried 100 men on level 2. We know that they are making up our sentences as we go along. We know that no one outside here knows what's happening. Now we know that when they say we are being released, we are being transferred to some other prison to go and die. And that ends today. There is one way out. Right now. The building is ours. You need to run, climb, kill. You need to help each other. You see someone who's confused, someone who's lost. You get them moving and you keep them moving until we put this place behind us. There are 5,000 of us. If we can fight half as hard as we've been working, we will be home in no time. One way out. One way out.
The doctor.
Out. One way out. One way out. One way out.
Oh,
Chills, man, every time.
I mean, we talked about it during the review of that episode, which we both rated absurdly high. And that actor, Andy Serkis, obviously has played some roles that are generational. And it's hard to even put a character in a show he was in 4 episodes for anywhere close to that. But he was beyond masterful in that, and that sequence is to this day gives me chills, and it will every time I watch it.
Yeah, and there's no lightsabers in that scene or anything, but like again, this is not the whole point of this video is not to bash Ahsoka. Like,
no, God, no.
I love Ahsoka. This almost just turning into like a love letter for Andor.
Yeah,
like that monologue, and then Marv's at the end. There's just so many, and then Luthen has one. Like, it is just so well written, and the tension. The one thing that I felt I personally lacked a little in Ahsoka versus Andor had me captivated, sitting on the edge of my seat in these scenes. And part of it is because none of these characters have plot armor.
No,
right? Like
everyone's fair game.
Everyone's fair game. Exactly. Whereas Ahsoka, like they're not killing Ahsoka. They're not killing. This
killing Sabine Wren. Yeah,
it's not happening. It's safe to the point where I'm not like it's hard for it to really get that tension.
Yeah,
like the most tension kind of I felt in Ahsoka was the Baylan scenes, just because he was the new character. You didn't know where he was going to go. Like I loved everything he was in.
Oh, yeah.
But with Andor, Cassian makes it to the end and he dies, but everyone around him is new.
Completely fair game.
Yeah, and it is just so well written and well acted. Like you said, Andy Serkis is an absolute powerhouse. To have him come in for basically 3 episodes and nail it. Mind you, the weakest part of Andor for me was the end of that episode when he can't swim. I still can't get over that part. It pisses me off.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. So I guess your first question, and it's hard because it's easier for me to answer the second question than it is the first.
Yeah, second question I think is obvious.
Second question to me is in my opinion is completely obvious. Which show did I like better?
Tell you what, I'll go first.
Yeah.
If you haven't already noticed by my tone and how I've set this up, Andor, to me, I don't even have to think hard. I think, again, I love Ahsoka. You and me gave Ahsoka some of the highest ratings we've given some episodes, but 100%. For me, as a whole, start to finish, Andor was it. I was so blown away with how different it was, and it's just so masterfully done.
I am going to agree with you that I liked Andor better than Ahsoka. The reason why it took me so long to to come to the answer, though, was because I liked them for so many different reasons. I was so captivated by Andor because, as you said, other than Cassian, nobody has plot armor. I have no idea what happens to these people. Every time something happened to anybody, I was glued to it to see what was going to go down.
Yeah.
However, Ahsoka, the bringing back of Hayden Christensen, seeing her evolve, getting that story on Sabine Wren, like becoming such a huge Rebels fan and going through the Clone Wars. And I mean, to me, I loved it because it filled in gaps. Andor to me was so captivating because I had no idea what was going to happen. However, so the next question is, I will answer this one first. Okay. If Disney has to make a season 2 of one, which one is it? It's Ahsoka.
100%. Agreed.
There's so much story to tell. Andor, I hate to say it.
Andor could end right there.
Right there. Don't make another one. It's so good. Leave it.
Yeah.
But
it fits. It's like that's the story of him about to join Luthen the Rebel Cell.
Yeah.
You mean they could almost end that
again?
I want season 2, but if I had to choose between the two, Andor almost has a perfect ending. Well, I shouldn't say almost. It does.
It does. 100%. It tells a beautiful story, start to finish. It's done. Ahsoka, I mean, the end of that with the gods of Mortis, the father, the brother, the beheaded sister, and then reaching out to the mom. Who is that again?
Abeloth, potentially.
Thank you. The potential Abeloth. I mean, obviously they're going to have to figure out the whole Baylan Skoll thing, but I mean, the story there is just so good. My biggest question is what becomes of Sabine Wren? They got nothing but time to train. So,
yeah. And Ahsoka, it's again, maybe the first season why I didn't like it as much because it was more setup, right? It is just set up all these unknowns.
Yeah.
Like there's what power is calling to Baylan is obviously the biggest one.
Yeah.
And it's scary enough that the Night Sisters essentially put themselves into stasis. You know, they're
Yep.
all in coffins, so like crates. Like we're assuming those are all Night Sisters. That
Yep.
they were afraid, and everyone just wants to get the hell out of Dodge. But Baylan's the one getting drawn to it. It's like that whole mystery. I know everyone says it's Abeloth or it's this, but like I don't know. Let us know in the comments. I don't think Filoni created. I don't think he was the one who created Abeloth. I think he did the father, the son, and the daughter. I think it might have been another author or something like that who ran with it. I could be wrong. By all means, let me know. But like, Filoni's been known to retcon books and comics all the time to make his vision happen.
Yeah.
But like, what else could it be? Lots of people are hung up. Well, I don't want to say hung up, but like the easy guess is Anakin is now the father, Ahsoka's the daughter because the Morai's following her around, and the daughter gave her essence to Ahsoka to live, right?
Yeah.
And Anakin, the father had asked Anakin to stay and Mortis to stay and be the new balance.
Correct.
The wild card's the son. Is Baylan really going to be the son? He doesn't really feel like it to me. He's more so walking that path down the middle. It kind of feels like. But will they actually do the whole Mortis God thing? Like, is that how they're going to end Ahsoka's story? That she just ends up being a Force God? Like, I just don't know if Dave's going to like really go that way. And normally with all these shows, what people assume and what people theorize the most typically almost never happens.
But there aren't a lot of options. I mean, Ahsoka. We've talked about Ahsoka for literally for years now. Yeah. You literally introduced me to the character when I started getting into Clone Wars and Rebels and like. But there's no end to her story. How do you how do you end it? I hate to say it, but maybe the Mortis is the best play.
Because then they don't really have to kill her, or would she technically die and become the embodiment? Maybe. It's the cleanest way to make her not show up in the sequel trilogy.
Agree.
Maybe because they got to do something with her.
Agree.
I also saw a theory out there that he's pointing to a portal to the world between worlds. And the reason why that theory was because in Rebels, when he unlocks the mural, how that on the rocks there where they're excavating, there's the mural of the Mortis gods.
Yeah.
When it activates, the one, I believe the father's hand points. And he points, and that's the portal entry, and that's where Ezra goes. So they theorize the statue's pointing of the father, that maybe it's pointing to an entry of the world between worlds. But then my only problem with that is like, what's the point of that? It's the world between worlds isn't calling to Baylan. It's not an entity. And like,
according to Baylan, it is.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Would the world between worlds give him the power he's seeking? He could change time. Possibly, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
The most intriguing theory that's gone around that I kind of like. Remember this scene in Rebels? Let me pull it up here. Do you see? Yeah, okay.
It would not seem so.
You cannot see. But I can.
What is he?
I see your defeat, like many arms surrounding you in a cold embrace.
So I see your defeat, like many arms around you in a cold embrace, which has always been the Purgle, right? Because at the end, the Purgle wrap around his stars. They even wrap around him, and he's defeated. But the theory is maybe that was foreshadowing to like not defeat, but like his death. And the cold arms of embrace are Night Sister zombies taking him out.
Interesting.
The cold part kind of might make sense because a zombie would be dead, so technically they're cold. Where the Purgle's a living being,
Yep.
but the Purgle are in space and it's freaking cold in a vacuum. But
I mean, it would be fitting that him waking up the Night Sisters. His greatest weapon becomes the vehicle of his death.
yeah, it'd be neat too that episode in Rebels foreshadowed all the way to the end of the Ahsoka series, like on what his end would be.
Yeah.
And the way that plays out too, there's a little more synergy there as well. Like the Legends now, the original Timothy Zahn, Heir to the Empire trilogy that Thrawn was originally in, he gets killed by his personal bodyguard, like assassin Rook. And Rook, it belongs to a species, I can never pronounce these things, the Nogri. And they find out that the Empire's been, I don't know if they were poisoning their planet. I can't remember. The Empire was doing something bad to them. And once he realizes that it was the actual Empire doing stuff to him and it wasn't like the rebels, he basically kills Thrawn.
Interesting.
So he's been serving Thrawn all that time. So the flip side of it now is if they reborrow that storyline, Thrawn is helping the Night Sisters, brings them back, and now he's using them. If the Night Sisters find out that, it was Grievous and Dooku who ordered basically the massacre on Dathomir.
Yeah.
Which is basically they're reporting to Sidious, right? So
yep.
Overall, Sidious is responsible for
the Empire.
For the Night Sisters being wiped out. And Thrawn has always been loyal to Sidious. Like Thrawn a lot of the times reported to Sid.
Yep.
So I don't know if the Great Mothers know that, they obviously know he's loyal to the Empire. They might not know what the Empire did to the other.
There's no way they would know.
Dathomir.
There's no way they would know.
Well, they're pulling those. Well, you know what? Before he got woken up, before he woke them up, they were sleeping, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so
in a different galaxy.
And the fall of the Night Sisters would have happened before that, right? It happened during the Clone Wars, so they wouldn't, even if they were awake for the fall of the Empire, they wouldn't have been there to maybe sense all the Dathomirian witches getting slaughtered.
Yeah,
in their
interesting.
So I think that's I think that one's kind of poetic.
Yep. Yeah, no, I like that. Do you think Morgan Elsbeth is dead? Like actually dead?
Yeah, I think she's dead now.
Do you?
Yeah. You think she's alive still?
I don't know. There's a lot of weird hoodoo going on there.
Well, what we talked about, right? You had to lose one of the bads because you had Shin, you had Baylan, you got Thrawn, you got his new like Enoch dude, you got the Great Mothers. There's just so many people.
Yeah, it's fair.
Someone had to get sacrificed. So I think
part of me would kind of like to see her back as a zombie Night Sister for season 2.
Well, she's stuck on that planet though, so
right.
Do you think we'll see Mother Talzin?
Well, she has the Talzin sword, right?
Yeah,
that's why.
So Talzin gave up her physical body in the Clone Wars to the spirit realm. So her spirit is still floating around there. She's just not physically present. But I know I think it's the Darth Maul comic, she came back. She found a way to come back, and she was killed by Dooku. Or I can't remember. Someone might have slain her. But again, Dave would completely potentially retcon that or find another way to do it. But
it'd be neat to see her take the form of Morgan Elsbeth's body. I mean, she does have the Talzin sword. It's possible that her spirit is tied to the holder of that sword.
Yeah.
It's like King Arthur, only dark.
Yeah. And we know the Night Sisters got a ton of spirits. Like, and even that Rebels episode where they go to Maul's lair and they do the thing to get them so they can remember what they saw on the holocron.
Yep.
Release those spirits who then possess Sabine and Kanan. So a Night Sister magic, no joke.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think you see Morgan Elsbeth again. I don't think it's as Morgan Elsbeth. I think it's just Lady Talzin, but I think you see her back.
Dave loves cameos, man. So we're gonna get Mother Talzin, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's all I had. We had,
Mhm.
but in agreement that Andor start to finish was probably the better series.
Agree.
It's not a knock on Ahsoka. It's how good Andor actually was.
It's amazing.
But Ahsoka's the storyline we want to see more from.
100%. Yeah, we're definitely in agreement.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. Well, this was interesting when you sent me the note on getting together for this, and I saw the lineup of questions. I was like, oh, this is an interesting comparison because they are just so different, right?
Yeah. Well, it's there. Like I see so much shade for both shows on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Oh God.
You know, people hate on Ahsoka because they're complaining about the writing. They complain about Sabine. They complain about like Ahsoka, like the way Rosario Dawson like portrays Ahsoka, how she's just always so like just too chill. You know what I mean? She
Yeah.
gives off like a surfer dude vibe. Nothing's ever too that serious. You know, all that kind of stuff. And then Andor gets hated on because it's slow. It's not real Star Wars. Like it's just you can never please everyone, but I don't
Not
know.
when you have that big of a fan base, it spreads over that long.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen.
Both shows pleased me though.
Yeah, both shows I enjoyed. If anyone important watches this, let them both run. Obviously, Ahsoka has to have a second series or a second season. If we don't get another Andor, it's okay, but it's not because it was bad.
Yeah,
It's just because
Ahsoka's
it told a great story.
Ahsoka's building a great thing, so definitely stick with Ahsoka. And if you were one of those people who watched maybe the first 3 episodes of Andor and just gave up on it, I get it. It is a slower burn. It is not for everybody, but
It's so good.
you got to give it a shot, man.
So
You got to
good.
give it a shot.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Hopefully, we have something to stream in the future if some, maybe some news comes out.
Yep.
And we'll check everyone on that next stream. Peace out,
Know where to
everyone.
find me.